Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Industrial Growth Lab podcast. My name is Colby. I'm your host. Excited to be talking with you all today. Our topic is, are your marketing tactics outdated and what industrial companies can do to modernize? So we're all familiar with trade shows, print ads, things like that have been staples for manufacturers and industrial companies for years. But what we really want to dive into today is, are they still delivering ROI in 2025? And if not, what can we do to modernize your digital strategies? So I'm joined with two great guests today, repeat guests. We have Ben and Elise. Can you each take a moment to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit more about who you are?
My name is Ben Johnson. I've been at Evenbound for coming up, I believe, 12 years this summer. So been here for a minute. And I'm an account strategist at Evenbound, and I have been for the majority of my time here. So excited to chat about marketing tactics, old versus new in 2025, and what some of the changes we're seeing in the space are.
And so my name is Elise Salazar. I have been with Evenbound almost exactly 1 year. Tomorrow is my 1 year anniversary, and I'm super excited for that. I won't be able to catch up to Ben or Colby, but I want to equal them at one point in time. I love it here and love doing all things HubSpot admin related, getting those automations and digital marketing really working for you very well. So it's very fun.
Awesome. Yeah, exciting. We have Elise's work anniversary this week, which is always fun to celebrate in-house.
Yay.
One little icebreaker, I'd just like to, break the ice before we dive deep into our topic today. We're speaking about outdated trends, outdated technology. What is one outdated trend or piece of technology that you still secretly love? I can go first. I don't think mine's super outdated, but there's definitely a more modern way to do it. I love alarm clocks, like a physical alarm clock. I know a lot of people use their phones, but I think that, it's just good to have an alarm clock. How about you guys?
Yeah, that's a funny one. Mine, I was thinking more work related, but I could definitely see how the old school alarm clock. Sometimes I have trust issues with my phone, so you never know, right? So using the old school tactic. For me, it is outdated in a sense, but I people still produce them. But as a growing up, I was big into magazines, and not necessarily just for like reading, but for like products too. So like snowboarding catalogs or car part magazines and things along those lines. And again, now as Colby mentioned, a lot better way to digest and find that information. But there is something to be said about flipping through a magazine and having something tactile to touch and feel. So that's one that I still reminisce on, and if that was more prevalent, I'd still be collecting them.
Love it.
Those are some fun things. Mine is handwriting things out. Now, hear me out. I do have an electronic grocery list on my phone. I do have an electronic calendar, but I have to write out my grocery list. I have to write out my calendar for the day. I just like seeing it in my handwriting. People talk about journaling. I like to handwrite my journal. It's just there's something about writing that makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. So I keep organized with the electronics, but when I really need to go grocery shopping or need to do something, I'm going to write it out.
I secretly judge people in the grocery store that I see like with a big pad and paper, like writing things down, because I'm like, just do it on your phone. But I guess that's you, Elise. So
Yep.
maybe I won't judge them moving forward.
That's all right.
Okay, let's get into the bulk of our conversation today. So first, we're going to talk about what these traditional tactics are. So I'm going to open the floor up to you both. What do you think are the most common traditional marketing tactics that you see manufacturers still use today?
You want to kick this one off, Elise?
Sure. Thanks, Ben. One of my favorites that it's funny, it's a favorite that it needs to be changed, is just the old outdated website that has basically just one, maybe 2 pages of just your basic information that doesn't really help anyone at all. And I see that so common, and they think it's going to cost an arm and a leg and be a lot of technical work to update it. And I just want to say, no, you can do this. Really, you can have a great website, and it's not going to cost or be that hard to do. So that's
a good one. I can picture one of those websites in my head because I've seen plenty of them. not leaving, not a lot of digital experience there. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Elise. I think, a lot of times we refer to those as brochure sites, right? It's literally they're using it as like a trifold brochure where they don't update it and it's just there to serve that purpose. So definitely a good one, Elise. For me, one thing that I see over and over again that, again, kind of to Elise's point of where I wish I could just say, hey, really wish you guys would take an initiative and do this. It's not as crazy as you think. Is working off of spreadsheets, and that sounds like that's technically advanced, but as we know, those can be segmented and separated. And so, if there's not a central place for data for your team, spreadsheets can be a place where data goes to die. So I would say that's one that I typically see a lot in the manufacturing and industrial space that I think we can get better at.
Thinking about some traditional like marketing type of campaigns and activities that industrial companies use, trade shows, print ads, direct mail. Do you think any of those still have validity and like power in 2025? Are they worth investing in?
I would say this is kind of my whole kind of my mindset coming into this recording today, but I would say yes, they do, but not in the ways that people have traditionally run them. And I think you need to evolve your philosophy on those a little bit and make sure you are able to track, I guess, the ROI on those things, right? Are they worth it for your company? Maybe they are, but how do you know, right? We need a way to track that data and show the ROI on those campaigns. So I think the answer is yes, but with a asterisk, I guess.
Yes. And we'll get in more later into like analytics, tracking, proving ROI. So I like that answer, but more to come.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Ben, on that. Great minds think alike. I think there needs to be some research so you know your audience. You're not just doing an event for the sake of doing an event. Let's do it with purpose. Ensure we're, and as the marketing saying goes, the right message, right people, right time. And you can use those print ads, use those trade shows to accomplish that work that really supports the whole marketing aspect, including digital marketing.
I'd be remiss to not talk about the buyer's journey and how much that has changed. Let's just say over the last 5 to 10 years. How do you think the change in how buyers go about their process of researching, identifying, having conversations with potential companies they'd like to work with, how has that all changed and impacted these traditional marketing methods?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, at least that I've seen, and again, I've been in the marketing space for probably close to 15 years and then at Evenbound for 12 years. And I would say the biggest shift that I have seen since I started is buyers are more self-sufficient and they want to do research on their own. And I am in the same space as well. I do not always enjoy talking to a salesperson. I know there's instances where that is necessary, but for example, if I'm looking for a car, I will do all the research that I need to do on my own, and I will go in there very educated, and I just need this person to, put the numbers on a piece of paper for me. So it's catering to those buyers in their self-service journey, and how can you, to Elise's point, give them the right information at the right time to make the right decision. So that's the biggest thing that I have seen is just more self-service versus those salespeople having to, explain the benefits and show the, features and things along those lines.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We are in an era where we need to create that trust, especially with the advent of, which I love. I love the AI. I love getting that information, but I want to be able to trust that information. And so I think that's what's really shifted is creating that trust. And you do that through the giving of information, the posting that and making that easy. And to your point, Ben, we just bought a car. And me and my husband, we did that. We did all the research and everything. And I will never forget the salesman's last words. He goes, "You guys were some of the easiest people I've ever sold to." Well, yeah. So it's making it fun for both of us, not just the buyer's journey, but it's making the salesperson's journey wonderful too.
Mm-hmm. A more touchless experience in the buyer's journey, for sure.
One caveat just to add on to that is like, yes, more self-service, but always give that opportunity for them to reach out. Just because a lot of people want that self-service, there are going to be people who don't, and just make it easy for them to reach out and get in contact with you, because you don't want to alienate anybody who is not in that realm, even though, like we kind of alluded to, a lot of the trends are going that way.
Yeah. Well said, Ben. Agreed.
Awesome. Moving into modernizing these traditional tactics for industrial companies. So Ben, you alluded to this a little bit. Like, yes, trade shows can be great. Yes, print ads can work for you. But how do we modernize and maybe prove ROI on those efforts?
So, one of my clients, and as I mentioned, I'm an account strategist at Evenbound. So I have a book of business and a set roster of clients that I work with on a monthly basis. And one of those clients, they offer pet medication for both veterinarians and for the end user like me, who I have pets and I could order meds from them. So one thing that they do a lot of, which is a very great marketing strategy for them, is they go to a lot of vet events. And before I was working with this client, I couldn't tell you how many industry trade shows there were around the vet space, but there are a lot. And they do about 10 a year. And so it is a big part of their strategy because their target markets are at these events, and they are talking with them, and they are having sales conversations. So what we have really done since our time of working with MixLab is we've really helped them integrate those tactics that they're doing boots on the ground, for lack of a better term, into data, into HubSpot, so that they can track their ROI and track those leads coming from that event. So the big key things that we do for them are we set up trade show landing pages where, the only people who are hitting that page are people who scan a QR code at the event. We are also setting up custom tracking URLs. So if people at the event are communicating with people, they are sending them tracking links so that, again, as users interact with them, we can pull that data back into HubSpot. And there's a lot of other ways that you could do that. Some people do specialized tracking phone numbers and things along those lines. So really utilizing the traditional in-person events, but making sure that we're translating that data back into actionable data on the marketing side so that we can look and we're empowering them to go back to their leadership and say, hey, we spent X on this event, but look at how much money we made in sales, or look at how many new customers we got. And we know a lifetime value of a customer is X. So there's a lot of data that goes back and forth from that event. And it's not just attending the event for the sake of attending the event.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very well said. You stole basically everything out of my mouth. Only you had the real life example, which is fantastic. It's just the way to do it. You want to keep that data. You don't want that to just go up in smoke and you don't know really what happened at that event. Of course, you're going to keep that. And then really just anything else, like a print ad, you can do the same thing. You can have that print ad have a QR code, and then that drops that data back in. Anything else that you might be doing that is traditional definitely can be tied in, automated with HubSpot, so that you then can track that data and make sure that you're doing and utilizing all of that information.
I feel like you guys answered my next question already with, how does data collection and marketing automation play a role in some of these more traditional marketing tactics? But, data collection is key. Once you have that data, you can use it for your marketing automations, whether that's a workflow, a sequence, a drip campaign, whatever that may be, segmenting contacts in a list based on, the data you have now. So I think we would all agree it's crucial. But Elise, do you have something you want to add?
Yeah, just that I don't think we estimate high enough the value of a follow-up. I always try to put myself in the buyer's shoes, right? And so if I get a print ad, or I'm in a doctor's office and I see a print ad, and I think, oh, that looks really neat, but I didn't take the time to write it down. There wasn't a QR code to scan. Well, now I don't have that ability. Or I get that print ad and then I bump into it on the website, and now I'm shown that I'm interested. But following up with me, many times you need multiple touches. I might be interested, but I'm not really ready to go forward. Those follow-ups show an awful lot. So that's why you're using that data. Let's make that powerful tool, because a follow-up, like you said, a workflow or a sequence where it's just automated. But as a buyer, I feel like, oh, they know me. They're interested, and making sure that I have all the information I want. I think that's very important to be shared.
I agree with that. That's a really good point. And I think just to kind of go like one step past that, like, yes, automation, right? If we get that data, that contact data, we can continue to market to them, right? If we don't, like Elise's example, how are we ever going to know that they even saw that ad? And I think the more important thing with the automation side is you can cater that message to that marketing person. That person you want to market to. Because again, in my use case, we have vets, we have pet parents, and then, there might be even some other options there. And we can collect the data where we say, hey, this person engaged with X. Maybe it was they engaged with, a med catalog, right? And so we know that they're a vet, and we can continue to push veterinary related topics or offers to them. Whereas if they maybe say, hey, I want to upload a picture of my pet so that I can see it on the internet, that's probably a pet parent. Let's hit them with the information that's relevant to them, because they're not going to care about these details about the medicines, right? They're going to have more fun and less serious kind of interactions. So using that data to send the right messages is super.
Absolutely. And I think just taking a step back and thinking high level for a minute, in 2025 and beyond, I don't think this will change. Data hygiene and like the cleanliness and reliability of your data is going to be worth its weight in gold. And I don't think people always realize that, because it is such a powerful tool if you have that data for marketing and sales efforts. And I mean, even service, like customer service, retention, all of that, it's so impactful. So I think that's an important piece that traditionally manufacturing or industrial companies might struggle with. Going back to your spreadsheet comment, Ben, that, your CRM shouldn't be a spreadsheet. It should be your CRM. You should have data that you're consistently cleaning and, making sure is accurate, and that basically powers the rest of your marketing, sales, and service motion.
Yeah. So just kind of one quote that John, our president, always says is, you get in what you put out of a CRM, and that's really related to data and effort, but more data, right? If you can put in clean data, and again, to Colby's point, keep that clean and updated, everything else on that back end is going to be super easy, seamless, and you're going to get that right message to the right people because you've taken the time to make sure that those people are interested in the things you're sending to them.
But in the vein of taking traditional tactics, making them more modern, what role does ROI play, and how can industrial companies go about measuring ROI effectively?
Well, I'm going to just be a shameless plug. I'm so passionate about HubSpot. And one of the main purposes of HubSpot is to create or give you that ability to see the attribution. Where is the return on this investment? What is happening with this paid ad? What is happening with this print ad if there's a QR code? Or to Ben's point, a trade show landing page that then is attached to HubSpot. You then can see all of that data. And it's something that I say in every training. I do a lot of trainings for our companies just to help them get to know HubSpot. And I started off in sales with HubSpot. And so I know I'm going to, point the finger at myself. As a salesperson, all I care about is making a deal. I don't want to have to gather information. Come on, I just want to sell. But if you have HubSpot or a CRM that makes it very easy for me to collect that data, and I can just put that in there, then others, not me as the salesperson, but others can go in and see that attribution. And so then I tell those companies as I'm training, put that data in there. That'll help them make better decisions and increase your sales. And so that's the whole point of it.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And HubSpot does a great job of aligning those tools. If you can get all of your data into one spot, that is going to be a lifesaver for you. It's going to make things a lot easier. And again, you're going to be able to make those ROI connections and really understand what's helping drive the bottom line for your business. Now, there are ROI is always important. There are other ways you can connect multiple data sources. You can even upload a spreadsheet of, closed won sales if you want to. But again, you're going to spend a lot of time divvying that data out, trying to connect it to the right deals and things along those lines. It's really critical that you consider a single data, flow for all of your data from stranger to close one deal, right? Because if you are missing any pieces or portions of that, it's going to be hard to allocate that ROI back to exactly what tactics and what touch points drove to that closed won sale. So there's ways around it, but ideally you want all of that data in the same spot, and it's going to make your life way easier. than it probably already is.
And agreed 100%. But then let me also add, we got to remember that HubSpot, it knows it's not the only player out there. So it's created hundreds, literally almost 2,000 integrations. So you can have that connection, that data integration. So if you've got Shopify, that data can populate in HubSpot and any other number of things that helps so that you have it all in there in one spot without having to say, well, I don't want to give this up. You don't have to give that up. Just get it integrated.
Yeah. And I'm going to add something about HubSpot. This is not an ad for HubSpot. You could probably do this with Salesforce or another CRM. We just choose HubSpot.
Yes, and I'm pretty biased.
Same.
Disclaimer.
Yes. In HubSpot, the way I think of it for industrial companies, I think a great tool is the campaigns tool, where you can set up multiple assets. So let's take a trade show, for example. You have a trade show landing page. You have a trade show email series that you send to people prior to the trade show to get them to like meet up with you there, come to your booth, etc. You have a series of workflows that sends after your trade show. You can connect a static list that you uploaded from the trade show to this campaign. And so just in this one spot, you're easily able to tag and see big picture of like how many contacts were influenced from this campaign. What is my ROI? And again, going back to what you've both said, it's a matter of keeping that all in one place and having that data to, support that report that pulls the ROI from your campaign, which I think is immensely valuable.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to hear your responses for this next question. As we begin to wrap up here, and, industrial companies, someone listening is thinking, yes, like this is all great. I want to modernize and do all these things, but I get pushback from my leadership team or my manager. What do you think is the best way to get buy-in from a leadership team when it comes to investing more in digital or modern strategies?
Yeah, I would love to take this one to start. So I think there's a couple things that you can think about when you are considering, hey, this seems like a great idea in my mind, but I have to pass it along to everybody else and get buy-in and help them understand. The biggest thing, in my opinion, to share is how this is going to make their lives better. And when I say better, it doesn't mean they get extra vacation days or they can take time off of work, right? But how is this going to help them do their jobs better? So the biggest thing that I think of is if you can paint a really good picture or tell a really good story about how you can improve a return on investment for marketing for your company, your leadership should be open to that conversation. Now, you might have to do the legwork and show them how it's going to, but again, if you can get more clear data for your company, there shouldn't be a lot of pushback onto the cost, right? Because the idea there is you are going to be able to show them that what they're investing is giving them a return. That's the whole goal of return on investment, right? So being able to, have that conversation with them and explain to them that we'll have more insights to be able to dive into and potentially make more money, hoping that is a good piece of the puzzle there. Elise, I'd love to hear from you from like the training side of things that you've kind of come up with or come up against.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because obviously price is the factor, right? And so we got to show that there is a good return on investment. It is worth the cost, whether that's hiring an outside agency or investing in a CRM or whatever it might be. And you've got this increased cost and it's increased time because, okay, I've got this new CRM. Well, I've got to learn about it. Showing how it works. One of the things that, in fact, Ben and I just had a client where they gave us some sample data. We were able to upload that into they'd already signed up and decided to do HubSpot, but we were able to show them, this is what it's going to look like. This is what it can produce. And we catch the vision now. So one of the things I know, Colby, you and I have been working on is getting that demo account. So we don't need you to invest in a CRM first. We can show you via a demo account. This is what it will look like. This is what you can see. These are some of the powerful tools available to you. We also do an awful lot of audits and show, hey, this is how you can make this CRM work better for you. There's just a lot of ways to attack that question of, is it worth my time? Is it worth my money? And yes, it is.
I think, I know we do this for ourselves, but I think an audit is a good place to start. If you can say, like, this is where we're at, look at all this opportunity, or even worse, like, look what's wrong and broken and things we need to fix. I think that really helps put a fire under some people. I think change management, especially at a large traditional industrial or manufacturing company, could be very difficult. But you both summed it up well. If you can, show examples like in demos, if you can do an audit, if you can prove ROI, those are all things that should sway the conversation in your favor. And it might not be a quick conversation. It might take, weeks or months of, being consistent with your message. But I think those are all great tactics to help move the needle. So I want to give you both the floor one more time. Do you have a final recommendation or tip for industrial companies looking to modernize their marketing?
One of the things that I'm fond of saying to people is, keep your process. If we can improve your process, if you can look and see, hey, let's make this process easier, fine. But make sure whatever you're using, whatever CRM you're using, wherever you're storing all your data, whatever you're doing for digital marketing, make it easily adoptable. If people aren't going to use it, it's not going to do you any good. And so make it really easy on them. And that can be the tool that you actually choose, to the setup. We had one company join us for just a short time, just to get them implemented, onboarded, knowing how to use the tool, and trained very, very well. And now the whole company is using it and loving it. Whereas if they hadn't spent that money, they'd have this great tool, but nobody knows how to use it. And so that is my final tip. Just definitely, whatever you choose to do, make sure that tool works for you, not you working for that tool and then you hate it.
I like that. Good one, Elise. My final thought or final takeaway for this is, you don't have to abandon what you're doing and just leave it all behind and try something new. Just make what you're doing smarter. So even if you start with a small digital integration, again, doesn't mean you have to go through a full CRM onboarding and implementation to start. But if you're using Google Analytics at a bare minimum, set up a tracking URL for your next event or your next emailer that's going to go out, and track exactly what comes from that activity, and share that with your team, and show how you can start to digitalize things, even if they're small steps.
Thank you for joining me and having this conversation. I think we packed a lot of good stuff in just under 30 minutes. If you're listening and you want to connect with any of us on LinkedIn, I'm sure we're open to that. We like to share some tips, tricks, industrial marketing best practices. So you can find us there. I'll put our LinkedIn bios in the description. And then subscribe to the podcast, share it with a friend, give us a comment, let me know what you think. Love to hear any feedback or any thoughts. So thank you both again, and have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, Colby.
Thanks.
Bye.